Hello, so today we're going to talk about finding area of shapes. Finding the area. So the area is how much a shape takes up. So it's how big inside a shape is. Alright, so the first examples we have here is called area of a rectangle. So the area of a rectangle is A equals L times W, or A equals its length times its width. So length times width. So in this example, I have my width of 9 and my length of 20. So my area would equal 20 times 9. 20 times 9 is 180. So my area for this will be 180. One thing to remember is that we have to put whatever was measured in. So this was measured in yards, so it would be yards. And then area is always squared. So it's 180 yards squared. So a square is also a rectangle. So for squares, we can also do length times width, and that will give us the area. So my length of this square is 7, and my width of this square is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. So the area of this square is 49, and it has an M here, so that's meters. And remember, area is always squared. So the area would be 49 meters squared. All right, our next shape is called a parallelogram. So a parallelogram has two sides that are parallel to each other. So this side and this side are parallel to each other. And as well, this side and this side are parallel to each other. Parallel means if we extended these out, these two green lines would never touch, and these two black lines would never touch if we expanded them out. So to find the area of a parallelogram, what you do is you take the base times the height. So the base is the bottom of the parallelogram. So this would be the base in red. The height is how tall the parallelogram is. So that is here. That would be h, the height. So all you do is you multiply the base times the height. So in my first example, I'm looking for base times height. So I can see my base right here, it says 7. So my area would equal 7. And then my height is how tall it is. So I see this is going to be my height of 18. So 7 times 18. If I multiply these two together, that will give me my area. And 7 times 18 is 126. So remember, you want to put your units, so this is inches, so I'm going to put inches, and then area is always squared. So my answer is 126 inches squared. All right, in this next example, there's no numbers here, but they gave me a coordinate grid so I can count how the height is and what the base is. So first, I'm looking for my base. So it's the bottom. How many units is my base? Well, I see that there's 1 square, 2 square, 3 squares. So my base equals 3. So my area would equal b times h, and my base is 3. I got to figure out what my height is. So my height, I can do the same thing. That's how tall it is. It's going to be here. How many boxes is my height? I have 1, 2, 3. So my height is 3. So my area would equal, what's 3 times 3? 3 times 3 is 9. And there's no units of measure, so we just put units squared. So my answer is 9 units squared. Our next shape is a triangle. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 the product of the base and its height. So what that means is it's 1/2 times the base times the height. So just like the parallelogram, the base is the bottom of our triangle. So the bottom of this triangle is right here, highlighted in black. The height is highlighted in red here. The height is how tall the triangle is. So we do 1/2 times the base times the height. So let's try an example here. So this example, we have this triangle. So I want to have to find my base, which is the bottom, and it says the base is 4, so that's my B. And I have to find the height. The height is how tall it is. That's how tall it is, and it says it's 5. So my height is 5. So now I can plug it in. So it'll be 1/2 times 4, my base, the bottom of the triangle, times 5 the height, how tall my triangle is. 1/2 times 4 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. So this would be 10, and there's no units of measure, so we write units, and area is always squared. All right, the next shape is a trapezoid. These are all trapezoids. All three of these things here are trapezoids. All right, and then what it says is that we're looking for 1/2 the product, which means multiplied, so 1/2 times h times the sum of its bases. So we have b2 plus b1. So we add our two bases. And the bases are just the top and bottom of our trapezoid. So here's the top of my trapezoid is b1, here's the bottom of my trapezoid is b2. So that's what the b1 and b2 stand for. So let's do this first example, the one over here on the left. So first I got to label what is what. So I see this top here is 7.7, that's going to be my b1. My bottom is 2.3, that's going to be b2. And the height is how tall it is, and that's 6, that's going to be h. So now I can plug in what I know. So 1/2 times 6 times my b2, which is 2.3, plus my b1, which is 7.7. So order of operations tells me that I have to do my parentheses first. So if I add these two together, 2.3 plus 7.7 gives me 10. So now I can bring everything else down. I have 1/2 times 6 times 10. 1/2 times 6 is 3. 3 times 10 is 30. So this would be 30. And then my unit of measure here is inches. So it would be 30 inches. And area is always squared. All right, let's go to example number 2. My top here is going to be my b1. My bottom here is going to be my b2. And then my height is how tall it is, which says 5, so h is going to equal 5. Now I can plug it in. It'd be 1/2 times my height, which is 5, times my b2, which is 11.5, plus my b1, and my b1 was 8.5. So now I can start to simplify. Order of operations says I do my parentheses first. So I add these two together, and when I add those two together, I get 20. So I would have 1/2 times 5 times 20. All right, 5 times 20 is 100. A half of 100 is 50. So this would be 50, and it says m, so that means meters. So it'd be 50 meters, and area is always squared. So my answer is 50 meters squared. All right, the last shapes we need to know are the areas of a circle and semicircles. So the formula for area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. So remember, radius is only halfway. So here's the radius of this is 3. The radius is halfway through a circle. Sometimes they'll give you a circle and they'll give you the diameter. So let's say they have the diameter here. I'm going to make a number up. Let's say they gave you this. The diameter is 8. What's my radius? My radius is half of that because the radius is only half way through my circle. So my radius for this example would be 4. So you're going to make sure you use the radius and not the diameter. So the formula is area equals pi times the radius squared. So in this example, the radius was 3, so they plugged in 3. 3 squared is 9. And if you do 9 times 3.14, that will give us 28.6. And that's always units squared. Area is always squared. All right, so let's do this example here. I have this circle, and they gave me a diameter, but I only want the radius. Remember, half of that. So if the diameter is 5, what I have to do is I have to divide that by 2 to figure out what my radius equals. So 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, so my radius equals 2.5. Now I can plug it into my formula, pi r squared. All right, so my radius we figured out was, well, pi is 3.14, and my radius we just figured out was 2.5. So 2.5 and then squared. Order of operations says we have to square first. So 2.5 squared, or 2.5 times 2.5. And what that gives us is 6.25. Right? But I still have this pi here, right? So it'd be 3.14 times 6.25. And when I do that, I get 19.625, and this is in centimeters, so it'd be centimeters squared. Area is always squared, so 19.625 centimeters squared is the area of that circle. All right, my last example here is a half circle, or otherwise known as a semicircle. So to find the area of a semicircle, we divide the total area of the whole circle by 2, because it's a half of a circle. So I use this same formula of pi r squared, but I have to divide it by 2 because it's only half of a circle, not a full circle. So let's see if I know my radius. Oh, I do. It says right here that my radius is 3. So r equals 3. So I can plug it in. So pi, or 3.14, times 3 squared. And 3 squared, I know, is 9. And then I would have 3.14 times 9, which gives me 28.26. But that's for a full circle. I only want half a circle. So what I have to do is I have to divide this by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2, 28.26 divided by 2 is 14.13, and this says centimeters, so it's going to be centimeters squared. Area is always squared. So the area of this half circle or semicircle is 14.13 centimeters squared. Area is always squared. All right. Continue on with the classwork. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask a teacher, and we will gladly help you.